peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Our time for all ages this morning, shared by Chris McCann, guides us in to what it means to center down, yes, even in a time of great anxiety. Chris.
Good morning, my good people. I'm Chris McCann, your religious educator for children. Today I'm talking about anxiety, and I'm sure that we all have a very long list of things we're anxious about. For any young friends who are watching, anxiety is when we're really super worried about something, or maybe a lot of things. I, for example, was anxious about writing this piece for today. Then I got curious about what I might say and sat down and wrote it, and now here we are. Now, I want everyone to do something for me as I'm talking. I want you to physically embody anxiety. Maybe you clench your jaw and your fists, your shoulders are tense. While you're in that pose, I want you to try to take a cleansing breath without relaxing. Does this posture of anxiety allow that cleansing breath? Anxiety demands so much of us, of our time, our attention, our bodies, as it yells, "What's going to happen?" Anxiety is exhausting. It's a hungry beast and craves certainty. And my good people, it will never be satisfied. As it demands more and more concrete answers, it shrinks our ability to be creative and deprives us of the very thing we need to fend it off. And that is curiosity. Curiosity asks the very same question as anxiety, but rather than demanding certainty, it invites us to wonder, what's going to happen? Curiosity expands our ability to be creative and to find new solutions. Curiosity reminds us that there isn't much that's certain and gives us ample reason to believe that our questions may just lead to some answers, or at the very least, better questions. Curiosity is renewing. How might you begin to practice curiosity? How might you change the way you ask the question, what's going to happen? In a world that is full of vast opportunities for anxiety, what small thing might you gladly wonder about? Now, check in with your body. Relax that posture of anxiety. Relax your jaw and your shoulders and your hands. And try that cleansing breath again. Now, go forth in wonder.
As we gather in community, as we go forth in wonder and with commitment to every new day, there is so much we feel ourselves called to do. There are so many responses that pull in our hearts, tearing us in 100 different directions, and we are reminded that every single task we set before ourselves, every single strategy we build, is one effort to hold all that we cannot control at bay with those few works of our hands and our hearts that we know can make a difference. Here at River Road, There are so many ways to apply the work of your hands and your heart to that which we can control in this time. We're excited that in our worship life together, we continue to adapt and change. And next week, we will debut for you a brand new worship format in which we'll gather here for our Zoom live watch party with a feed of video and of audio straight from the sanctuary and the fellowship hall. We'll gather and worship in a great many different ways over the coming months, but we hope you'll join us for the adventure. And mark your calendars also for September 27th, when ourselves and the UU congregation in Fairfax and our sister congregation here in Bethesda, Cedar Lane UU congregation, will host a joint service together in celebration of all our faith has to say in times such as these. We also invite you to come to a time of practice, of centering down. Every single day on our Facebook feed, our religious educator, Chris McCann, will be sharing daily chalice lightings, daily rituals, a song of the day for you and your family to touch base with your spirits and with your community. It is a practice that doesn't require you to sit in front of a screen, but you can carry it with you everywhere you go. Come to practice now and every day. Our College Access fundraiser has been an important part of our life together for many years. We will be live streaming it Saturday, September 26th. Mark your calendars now from 7 to 9:30 p.m. Daryl Davis, Seth Keibel, amazing vocalists will join us to celebrate the power of the human voice to overcome injustice and the power of oppression. All that money will go to Mentors, Inc., a powerful partner we have shared for so many years. It is also the time to keep up our work for Go Vote 2020. We are looking for a few more postcard senders. You can be a part of the distribution. On Saturday, September 12th, we gave out more. We will keep them coming. We keep the pressure up because it has never been more important. Indeed, there are so many ways to connect, to help feed people, to prevent gun violence, to bring back our faith in democracy. And we do that as a part of this institution that we believe in among these people whom we love. And if you feel yourself called to be a member of this merry band of travelers, you might consider membership here at River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Our next membership ceremony is today, Sunday, September 13th at 11:30. If you're interested in joining us, drop a note in the chat or email me or membership@rruuc.org. Indeed, this week we come together not only with all of these many ways to do things, but with the joys and the concerns, the sorrows and the celebrations that rest on our hearts. This week we grieve alongside Stephanie Smart after the loss of her son, Ricky, who died far, far too young. Stephanie is back from being with her remaining son and her family. She's grateful for the love and attention of her friends at River Road and making her way through well enough. We also grieve alongside our membership assistant, Nan Posen, after the loss of her sister-in-law this last week. Grieving in a time of social distance poses a challenge on every level, and we need each other to hold those pieces together. We celebrate the brilliance and the wonder of coming of age with Zachary Washad, who completed his bar mitzvah this weekend. What a gift it was for him to find his voice and speak his truth aloud to his community of faith and his beloved friends. We also mourn the passing of Patty Francis's father, Jack Soap Francis. The reality of COVID-19 and the price we pay is not an abstraction. And Soap was a person whom everyone in his neighborhood knew and loved. He was a person who made an impact on the world. We grieve the passing of Pat Lansdale Rice, the mother of Paige Lansdale, the grandmother of Sadie, Chloe, and Patrick Lansdale. During Pat's battle with cancer, she was lovingly tended by Paige, and she was surrounded by the deep appreciation of her family. Some of you who know and love the Lansdales know they have lost too much in the last year. We hold them in our hearts. And this week we lived again through another anniversary of that day on the 11th of September, when our city and our nation and our households and loved ones knew what it was to be mortally afraid. We lift up the lives lost, The lives changed. The nation shaped on that fateful day, and we remember with love together. Finally, it is no exaggeration to state the simple fact that in the western states of this nation, the fires now stretch from the Canadian border through Oregon and all the way down to Mexico. We lift up all those loved ones, include their names in the chat bar as they scroll by, the people you fear for, the people who have already lost so much, the people you love. Kelly Hardin and her partner evacuated safely from the farm on Oregon in which they live and work. They're waiting out the flames, not knowing if their farm survived. Bob Kulowick's family in Oregon, waiting to see when evacuation needs to happen. Kathy Tippett's sister already evacuated. All of our beloveds, we hold you, we remember you, we treasure you, we hope. The great loss people are experiencing and the fear that comes with waking up under ash-filled skies cannot be overstated. And so we lift up the sheroes and heroes who battle the flames for the families making our way through. And we commit to a different future and lift up our hearts in love. Our meditation today, holding all of this, has been a point of return for many of us in our tradition during this pandemic season. This time of fire and fear and reinvention, I bring you the prophetic words of Reverend Teresa Inez Soto, whose poem reminds us everything is still on fire. Won't you take a deep breath in a good seat to join me? Everything is still on fire, despite your best efforts. In addition to living, it is clear that fire or not, you must level up right now on what it means to thrive. Right now, that means wrestling with the truth that not everything is your fault. I am so sorry that everything is still on fire. Once hate catches, the winds of not my problem blow, and the blaze is hard and fast. But hard is not impossible. Not yet is different than never. You in community have an answer. You have a response to the systems of power and control, to the bitter cost of suffering. You and your community are an answer. You are not only a people of the flame, but a people of cold, clear truth. You know both when you fall short and where you flourish and where you still reach. Everything is still on fire, but all is not lost. You remain. Here in this burning season, you remain, more nimble than steadfast, more unshakable than swayed by the latest rage. You are here to put out the ravenous flames and to heal the world. Enough is enough. Amen. And blessed be. Won't you join me in Spirit of Life?
Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade. Please join me in singing. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We give our gifts freely, gifts of time, talent, and treasure and friendship as you are able, knowing that you can give in so many ways. We invite you to give now to the ministries we share. You can text RRUUC in the amount to 73256. You can go to our website at rruuc.org/give. May we be generous, as we always have been, especially in these times.
This is my arrangement of a favorite hymn, The Lone Wild Bird.
The Hindu sacred text of the Bhagavad Gita. It begins right in chapter 1, right at the outset, with a story of a mighty warrior to lead the people in times of great suffering and trial. This mighty warrior, he is a chosen one among the chosen ones. He is given the almost impossible task of meeting a tumultuous time with unyielding courage. This hero, whose name is Arjuna, he did all the things that heroes are supposed to do. He wielded a bow with a sure and steady arm. He came from a great family of other heroes before him. He inspired others and all that jazz, and so it was that doing all the things heroes are supposed to do, Arjuna found himself as a representative of his ancient family line on the front lines of a pitched battle that had raged one way or another for generation after generation. It was a battle over succession. It was a battle about who would rule in the years and generations to come, about who would lead the people, about who would speak for them, about who would set the people's priorities and their values. And the sacred story meets Arjuna as that whole conflagration that his life pointed him toward, galloped toward an ultimate dramatic finish. Now you see the heroes, people, they had come to that battlefield to take back their kingdom from those who had stolen away from them. Because leadership of that land did not belong in the hands of a usurper, they had come, gathered as one, and the coming battle had the highest imaginable stakes. The whole future of the people's state and nation, the odds were by no means even. Everything and everything was on the line. In fact, Arjuna's enemy, the unjust heir to the throne, right before the coming battle, he looked our hero in the eye and he boldly declared to him, "My forces are unlimited while yours are small." And so our hero knew that almost everything depended on his leadership when it all came down to it. And so it begins, right? The story of heroes told time after time, in age after age, across every religious and mythological tradition. So it begins. The players are aligned on each side of the coming battle. They each are called by name. They each step forward, all while staring each other eye to eye, ready to do battle for the very soul of everything they call their own. The people outnumbered see Arjuna's seemingly inexhaustible energy as their leader, and so long as he leads the charge before them, they at least have the courage to follow, and the forces align across the battlefield. The sacred conch shells are blown. Arjuna asks no less powerful a personage than a god, Krishna himself, to drive his chariot forward fearlessly into the battle in the front lines. There stands the leader of the people. There stands the hope of a new day in a chariot driven by a god. What could possibly go wrong in that scenario? And as the chariots pull closer and closer to each other, Arjuna looks out at the armies of his enemies. He sees their number. He sees that even among his enemies are those he used to call friends. He sees that among his enemies are his cousin, the people he has walked with. He sees that the whole situation is more complicated than he even wanted to admit, that the forces before him really are vast, that the stakes really are that high. He understands that even if he wins the battle, the work that lies ahead of healing all that has been broken is almost infinitely hard. And there are fathers and grandfathers and brothers and friends arrayed over the whole field of battle, sorting out what to do next. When everything is so complicated, is, as you might imagine, just so damned exhausting. And that's the moment when the hero of ages, the one foretold by the generations before, is so overcome by the sheer exhaustion of it all that the ancient story says our hero simply sat down. He sat down his bow and his arrows. Even as the chariots wheeled so closely they could see the whites of the enemy's eyes, he realized how tired he was. And though the stakes of the battle had not lowered, and the necessity of his presence had not changed, the man just sat down on the floor of that still moving chariot and wept like a puddle. He did not have it in him, he said. He did not have it in him. It was all too much. He was too tired. There was not enough of him to go around. And for the life of him, the hero of ages could not unpeel himself from that chariot floor. Not one more thing. Not one single thing more. Not one more thing can land on the heart of even the bravest hero sometimes. Sometimes even the bravest among us are just done. And when the exhaustion is that deep, when the depletion is that complete, it is hard to know just where to start, especially when the chariot is still moving, even if you have flat laid right down there on the floor. Have you ever felt that way? In the midst of every conflagration that comes flying at us now, You know, I keep threatening in these days that one of these afternoons, I am just going to come and lay down fully prone on the floor of my office and stay there for about 2 days. I'm just going to come, I'm going to lay on the floor of this office, and you can slip Post-it notes under my office door. Maybe provisioning runs could be arranged. I really like Betty Wilson's fried chicken and any Midwestern casserole made by Marsha Leonard. We could work this out. But definitely no Zoom meetings are allowed while I am laying on the floor of my office, and children are only invited if they are feeling particularly well adjusted and altogether happy about their state in life right this moment. That's about it. After all, we can't go hang out quietly and safely in coffee shops anymore. Not even movie theaters are safe places to hide from it all when you're tired. There is the promise of the floor, cool and reassuring. And maybe I am not the only one who wonders just what it might be like to go ahead and sit this one out already, whatever this one might be. The coming fight that may be barreling at you, the pressures and the demands hurling right your way. Perhaps the conflagration that is burning closest to your heart of hearts today is coming at you way too fast. And maybe I and the hero Arjuna aren't the only ones who sometimes feel like it's all a bit much. The fact is that there are any number of reasonable responses that even heroic people can make when faced with the level of demand and the consequent level of exhaustion that stalks the edges of our lives in these stressful times. We are not set up all the time and in every moment to continue fearlessly leading the charge unbroken. We are not equipped to lead the charge at every moment, in every instant, without hesitation or pause or acknowledgement of the price of that continued effort. When we face the coming crisis, there is not one single way to stare it down. As the great novelist and justice seeker Margaret Atwood has put it, there are at least 6 possible responses to a soul-deep experience of crisis, and we, truth be told, often slip between them. When faced with the coming crisis that is almost too big to handle, Margaret Atwood says you can protect yourself, give up and party, help others, blame, bear witness, or just go ahead and get on with your life. The truth is that we alternate and vary between these reasonable responses throughout the whole course of a crisis and its aftermath. We all have the freedom to alternate between those responses, to mix and match as best we can, and giving ourselves that freedom to choose how best to respond in this moment on this day might ultimately be one of the surest ways to find renewal in the midst of the fire that still burns. You do not have to be one thing. Not even the heroes do. You do not have to be one thing in order to be authentic and creative and vulnerable and just self-aware enough to know that it is time for you to switch gears. What is your first response when the chariot beneath you is wheeling towards something that seems like too much to handle? What is your second response? Your third? And how rapidly in these COVID days and crisis days and election days have you allowed yourself to slip fluidly out, in, and between them? As a society, I think we are coping with a collective loss of control such as most of us have never known. Even things we think we can control are a part of something so much larger, and the complex interconnections between things, state and community, self and government, science and public policy, personal choice and collective well-being, all of those interconnections are on display in ways we never imagined we might see in simpler times. Nothing's simple these days. Nothing exists in isolation, and we alone control a whole lot less of the whole picture than we may once have liked to imagine. You see that chariot? It's rolling forward, even if you or me or Arjuna are pasted to the floor trying to imagine the moment away. Even now, When you're driving your car carefully on neighborhood roads, you think you have control of that vehicle, but really you have control of the steering wheel and the pedals. The car exists within a larger context, and you're not in charge of it all. And I know that collective loss of control, that sense of being caught up in forces so much larger than ourselves in the chariot that won't stop moving, I know it is exhausting. I know it is a source of incalculable anxiety. And I know that there is renewal which comes when we invite ourselves to simply control the controllables and let the rest go. Renewal comes when we know what freedom we still do have. The freedom to choose how to respond. The freedom to choose when to lie down and when to stand up. The freedom to choose when to just get on with life and when to fight the good fight. I know that such freedom is an incalculable privilege, not granted to those who are being actively oppressed. And we who are so privileged should hold that freedom with great love. Nobody has to be the hero all the time, not even the chosen one of generations. Because sometimes, at exactly the moment when the hero admits how tired they are, they find enough renewal in that small truth-telling to admit that the decision to lie down is no more inevitable than the decision to rise up and meet the moment, which is coming one way or another. Arjuna on the floor of the chariot, well, it helped that he wasn't alone. You remember he had a god driving that chariot right next to him. The Lord Krishna was right there, guiding the chariot forward, never hitting the brakes. He told our hero in that last final moment that he alone had the power to choose, to live his destiny or hide from it, to meet the moment or to overthink it all into oblivion. He told him to choose, not later, not tomorrow, but right now, how to respond to every single thing the world hurled at him. And of course, the story says that the hero rose up. He picked up his bow and his arrows, and he lived to fight another day and another day after that in a land made free because of his commitment and the commitment of people who believed in him. I do not know what it is that will renew your courage today, that will scrape you up off the floor of that chariot. I do not know what small choice you can make to control the controllables and let the rest go in your life. I don't know what tiny freedom you can claim as your own, but I know you are not alone. We move forward together into the coming days, claiming what we each need to be renewed, giving what we can to renew the whole. And as we do so, before we sing one more hymn of blessing, I leave you with another blessing, written by my wonderful colleague, Gretchen Haley, on claiming this time for renewal. Though you have been warned and given plenty of explanations and reasons to do otherwise, you have persisted to claim a life of joy and justice, and to carve out this time for renewal in your own heart, despite the din that demands your attention. Luring you always toward fear and cynicism, you persist with gratitude for this day and this life that has been given, this chance to begin again, despite all the forces of fragmentation, despite the disappointing ways we fail each other, fail ourselves. We refuse to let this grief undo us or let our dreams get lost along the way. In spite of all the evidence, we keep showing up at the edge of our own longing, and then we keep going, remembering this duty we have to life, to a greater sense, this duty we have to each other, to our children and their children. This hope is also a choice we make. It is a promise we fight for, to persist in kindness, to persevere in compassion, and to prevail in a life that is bound entirely to love. May it be so, and amen. Our hymn comes to us with the beautiful voice of Linda Ryden, ringing out in words you might remember. Love will guide us, for we are not alone. Please sing along as you are willing and able.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
And now, may the truth that makes us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies, guide us and those we love and those we do not love forward together till the day spring breaks and the shadows flee away. Our service has ended. We invite you to stay on for conversation and for fellowship as you were able. What a blessing it is to be together. Thank you, Cliff, Jan, Linda, Patrina. Thank you all.